like this. We also have formalized who's training programs that we offer to individuals as well. And so we want to thank you for being here with us today. We do have a couple of our team members with us as well, so I want them to quickly introduce themselves. So I'm going to hand it over to Elijah Harrison.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elijah Harrison. I'm an opportunity navigator for UVA Pipelines and Pathways. So part of what I do is help individuals find those jobs that align with some of their experiences, and we'll do mock interviews. Any sort of assistance an individual may need, I will be there to help you every step of the way. And even after employment, after you do get that job, we will continue to check in with you and make sure things are running smoothly. And if there's any additional services you need, we will provide that. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And then we also have Rayshawn Jones.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Rayshawn Jones. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator. I do something similar to Elijah, but I do more with the help with the resumes as well. Also, I also help people find jobs as well. And then once you are employed, I still continue to check up on you, make sure that everything's going smoothly. And then later on in your career, I'll help you develop, or if you want to move forward and grow into that position, I will help you find a position to help you.
All right. And so today we have a small group. So I highly encourage you all, if you have questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat box. You can raise your hand. You can unmute yourself. Let's just have a very nice conversation today and make sure we get all of your questions answered. With that, we are recording this, so we will upload this presentation to our YouTube channel. We will share that link with you, so in case you want to refer back to anything. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Melissa Hanna, who is also with the Pipelines and Pathways team, and she's also going to present today. So thank you, Melissa.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. I'm really excited about this topic today. I feel like I say the same things so many times to my clients about application strategies for UVA specifically. I've been in this role for a while now. I started in November of 2022, and I, like Elijah and Rayshawn and Holly, I help our individuals in the community find employment at UVA or with any of our external partners. And I also help with the marketing efforts for the program. And the things I've learned throughout this position are going to be discussed today. So I'm really excited to share this expertise with you all. Like Holly said, let's go over some housekeeping tips really quick while we're going through the presentation. I highly encourage, you unmuting yourself if you have a question, raising your hand, or if you have a question that you want addressed, later. We also have a section at the end of the presentation that is just dedicated to in-depth questions. You can also write in the chat box at any time, and if you want me to address it right away, I absolutely will. Another thing is that we will be doing some very small, quick 5-minute activities, just 2 of them during the workshop today about the topics of resume and cover letters. And you can, take a notebook and pen and, write out your answers on that, and then we'll have a minute to share. Or you can use your notes app on your phone, or if you have your computer with you, you can type it up on your computer, whatever is best for you to help you through the workshop. And so without further ado, let's talk about the actual topics that we're going to be discussing today. So as you're probably, expecting, we're going to be talking about resume tips. What kind of resumes are UVA looking for? What are the recruiters looking for when you upload your resume? What makes your resume a better resume than someone else's resume? As well as cover letter. Why is the cover letter important? Why should you even bother with a cover letter? We're also going to talk about this really cool new tool that UVA has on their job board, their online job board, where you can upload your resume, and then it provides essentially a AI generated recommendations, section based upon your resume. So it gives you job ideas and job links using your resume. We're also going to talk about the workday process, like the what's next after you put in your application and cover letter. What does that look like on the recruiter's end, and how long? Like, what's the kind of a general timeline? What are they seeing on their end? And then what kind of stages occurs after you submit your application? And then if we have time, we can go over some interview tips as well, just some best practices, some just general rules of thumb to prepare for an interview. And then after the interview, what should you do at the end of your interview and then after you've already finished your interview? And then, like I said, we'll have a Q&A section dedicated at the end of the presentation as well. All right, so first, let's talk about the resume. And I'm going to pull up my notes. Okay, so when you look at a resume, the formatting of a resume is very, very important. You're also, when you think about a resume, you're trying to answer specific questions for a recruiter. So when you're a recruiter at UVA, or really any position, they're going to have a very specific list of things that they're looking for when they look at your resume. So you really want to tailor your resume to that position. You also want to tailor it to the recruiter's general experience. And what I mean by that is that your resume needs to stand out, and it needs to be easy for the recruiter to look at it. You don't want a lot of information kind of crowded on the resume. You don't want it to be formatted where it's difficult to read, because a recruiter's glancing at your resume, probably yours is in a stack of, lots of tens, maybe to 100 resumes in a stack, digitally, of course, not a paper stack anymore. And so you want to make it very easy for them to take a look at it. For example, make sure it's bullet pointed, make sure it's clean, make sure that the font is very easy to read, no flowery kind of font or cursive type font. That's not going to work. Anything, and it's like the sections are really easy to glance at. They're like spaced out very easily. And of course, I'll say this now, if you need help with your resume, Pipelines and Pathways is going to be here, to help you with all of that if it's too much information. But I'm going to try to make this as digestible as possible for our workshop today. And then, going into the kind of nitty gritty, you need to have a good descriptive word choice in your resume. You need to make sure that it's very specific. Like when you talk about your work experience, instead of just saying, I was a customer service rep. What does that mean? What did you do? I answered phones. Okay, well, how many calls did you take in one day? Talk about very specific examples of what you did to really show that you are an expert in your field. So we are going to have some examples today as well. Oh, we're doing a transcription. Okay. We're going to talk about a couple of examples and what kind of the differences are, and what are the positives of each of the resume examples. Do we have a question?
Hello, thy name.
Okay, I don't think we have any questions.
I think it was
Okay.
just an unmuted.
Oh, okay, got it. Welcome, new joiners. We're talking about resumes right now. All right, so this is one example of a resume that I created for a client. And I want you to think about how it's kind of easy to look at. It's very clean. It's sectioned in a very specific way. And so I'm going to actually talk about each of the sections. When I say that, what do I mean? So first section is her name is at the top, and then she has her contact information and location right underneath. So like any resume, you want that to be at the top, because the question the recruiter is going to have is, how do I contact this person? So you're answering that question. The second question they're going to have is, who is this person? What is their expertise? Why are they applying to this role? That question can be answered in your professional summary. So I recommend you always include a professional summary or statement of purpose in your resume right after your contact information. And for example, if you're an administrative person, or if you're a customer service individual, you can say that you are a customer service professional of X amount of years. And why are you seeking the roles? You are seeking roles where you can utilize your skills. Now that one's kind of like a general, statement of purpose. Some people can be very specific, and they can say, I am seeking roles where I can help my community. I am seeking roles where I can advance in my career in a specific career path. For the medical center, you know, you could say that I'm seeking an entry-level position where one day I could become like a nurse or something like that. If you know the, you know, end goal, you should include it in your professional summary if you can. And if not, you know, you're just kind of looking for something general in the general field that you're applying to, then you can leave it a little bit more basic. But you're answering two questions here. The first question being, like, who are you? What is your expertise? What's your field? And the second question is why are you applying? The second section of this resume is the education section. And I see in a lot of resumes that people put their education at the very bottom of the resume. And I do not recommend that for UVA positions. I recommend it putting in the second, like right after your professional summary, because when recruiters are looking at your resume, their next question is this person qualified for the position they're applying to? So they want to know who you are. They want to know if you're qualified. And if you make it too hard for them to find the education section, like they're scanning your resume, they don't see it quickly, you know, you just want to do anything you can to make it as easy as possible for the recruiter to look at your resume and answer those questions quickly, because again, they have a stack of, you know, 100 that they're looking at. And so if you have it right there, you immediately answer that question. Okay, this person has a high school diploma. That's exactly what they need in order to pass, you know, in order to get into this position, because we require a high school diploma. So Sarah has, you know, the specific school that she went to. She has her graduation date. She does say that she earned the diploma. If you don't have a high school diploma, you have a GED, you know, again, put the location, put the year that you earned your GED. And Sarah also includes, you know, she didn't finish college, but she did take 2 years. You know, anything that you have, you should include in your education, because that's going to show that you're just a little bit more qualified, maybe a little bit more experienced. And then lastly, something that's really popular nowadays is taking online courses. And so she includes that too. And she includes that her graduation timeline is of this year. So she's in the middle of doing it. She's going to be graduating soon, and it's in a registered medication aid class. So you don't have to be, you know, specific about a specific class if you don't want to. You can say Coursera, you can say Skillshare, you can say LinkedIn, online learning. You know, if you want to put those things, you can. Or you could just say it's an online course, you know, you're taking this online. I know PVCC sometimes has online courses. There's universities that have online courses. You should include the institution that's like a higher education if you can, but if it's just something online, you can just leave it kind of generic. Because if a recruiter has a question about your resume about that, then they can actually ask you in the interview. So you can kind of leave that part open. The next section is the skills section. So I do kind of want to dive into this point a little bit, and I see a lot of people format skills differently. Sometimes they'll put it at the very bottom again, where right after their work experience with their achievements, like they'll group it together, or they'll put skills and certificates like grouped together. It's really, you know, that part's not, I'm not too picky about that. That's really up to you. But when you do include a skills section, you need to be thinking about the skills that you have expertise in and that what you're applying to. So a job that, like if it is a customer service position, customer service needs to be the first skill that you include on your resume. You know, Sarah already does say that she's a customer service professional 5 years, but she includes it again in the skills section because it is relevant to the position that she's applying to. And it's always good to be a little bit repetitive because, you know, a recruiter's glancing at it, they see it a couple of times, then that's really going to be solidified in their head of, you know, this person is a customer service professional. I also wanted to touch point about how specific Sarah is on her resume about what kind of skills she has. So instead of just saying, well, I use technology, like, or I have computer skills, what does that mean? Do you have specific software skills? So she lists Microsoft Office Suite, which includes, you know, Word, Outlook, Excel, maybe there's others. And then from there, she kind of is general. She says she has high level professionalism, verbal skills, you know, she's reliable. Those are good things to have, but if you can think about very specific examples of why you are professional, of why you are reliable, that's always better and more concrete than just kind of saying in general. So for example, for high level professionalism, maybe you could say, you know, I was never tardy at my position or something like that, you know, or, you know, I was reached out to by high like advisors, like high level advisors often, and I had to correspond with them. Something that showcases that specific skill. Now, for the next part is relevant experience. So this is where she's listing her actual work history, the most important part of the resume, other than the contact information. And so, again, she just kind of has some very basic bullet points here. But one thing I really liked about her work history that she lists is that she notes that she managed high volume communication with a specific number of 50 to 100 calls a day. So that's the exact thing that you want to go for when it comes to listing your work experience in specifics. So if it's not 150 to 100 calls a day, is it interacting with 100 to 200 patients a day? Or is it, you know, answering 100 plus emails a day? Like being very specific with the numbers to give that experience a, you know, to show that you have expertise in that. And it gives the recruiter knowledge of the kind of worker that you are. Okay, well, this person managed high volume with this specific number attached to it. So I know that she's not exaggerating, like this is a very specific number. And she's used to environments like this. So she would probably do well in a busy office as like a receptionist or something like that. And then again, she goes into restaurant experience. She talks about how she was a shift leader. So I put asterisks on the shift leader and the sous chef because those are just titles. So what experience did she gain as a sous chef? What experience did she gain as a shift leader or a new employee trainers? And just instead of just saying that, I would encourage, you know, trained, you know, responsible for training new employees on X amount of, you know, tasks. You know, maybe you scheduled them, maybe you trained them in the, you know, sanitization guidelines. You know, what specific things did you train those new employees on instead of just saying, oh, I trained people? You want to be very specific. I know I'm going to say that word a million times, but that if you take anything away from this, you know, course, it is be specific. And the same thing with the sous chef. What did you do as a sous chef? Did you learn things from the main chef? Like what skills did you learn from the main chef? Was it you know, cleaning the knives, making sure the knives were sharp for safety reasons? Did you learn more safety guidelines? Did you learn specific OSHA guidelines? What did you learn when you were trained as a sous chef? And so and that's pretty much the gist of what I look at when I look at a resume is the order of items, is the contact information at the top, is the professional summary up there, and is the education at the top. If those things are not at the top, I always give the recommendation to rearrange that for the formatting. And then the next thing I look at is specifics. So that's just a good summarization of everything there. I'm going to take a second. I said a lot of information. Do we have any questions so far about the information I shared? Are we good? I think we're good. And feel free to interrupt.
I don't see any questions yet.
Okay, that sounds good. And I think we had some new folks joining as well. So welcome new folks. We're talking about resumes right now for UVA jobs. How do you format your resume to be good for a UVA specific position? All right, here's another resume that is, again, very similar to the first one, but it's kind of more focused on trades. And so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with this one, but I wanted to provide two examples for people so you can maybe see the differences. One major difference with Joe's resume is that he says his goal is very specific. So he says he's a construction professional of 3 years, and he's seeking specifically full-time trades opportunities for UVA facilities management. Now that's great. If you're applying to a UVA job, saying that I am seeking a UVA job in this field as this professional that's the first thing that the recruiter sees about you. They're going to be like, oh, wow, they're really, really interested that they took time to actually put in their professional summary that they want a UVA position. So that's really good. He reformatted his dates on the left instead of the right from Sarah's resume. That's fine. You know, you can totally do that. There's no issues with that. And then skills, again, right after education, that's good. He talks about OSHA and safety protocol certification. He talks about heavy machinery. He talks about hand tools. These are all really specific examples about the work that he did when he was a construction worker. One thing about, this is a made up resume, so I might not be completely accurate, but a lot of construction workers I've spoken to, it's private contracting, and so they might not have a specific construction company they've worked for. So for the sake of simplicity, we put private contractor for, their main job. But what was important is that, the specific bullet points. He says that he operated over 20 types of hand tools and and power tools. So again, being very specific. And then I'm using computers and technology. That's good too. Again, I want to know what kind of technology, what kind of software did you use while you were on the job? And then the last difference on this resume compared to the other one is that this person did include a references section at the very bottom. I encourage doing this. If you have room on your resume to include a reference section, that's fine. A lot of times UVA does require at least 5 references in order, like if you pass the interview, stage, they're going to send you a reference link where you type in 5 references. 2 of them have to be managers. So having, a few references on your resume is pretty good. It means that you already have identified those people. If you have a document that has all 5, like a separate document, if you can't fit all 5 on your resume, then that's even better. Having 2 documents, one for your resume, or actually 3, one cover letter, one resume, and then one references page that has the 5 identified. That's really, really good. That means you're prepared for the next steps after the interview is done. Pipelines and pathways can help you figure out 5 references, because it is really hard to kind of think like maybe you haven't had 5 managers because you're maybe new to working in a professional atmosphere. You've only had like 1 or 2 restaurant jobs or something like that. And like coworkers, what kind of coworker should I think of? Or maybe it's a mentor in your life, or a coach, or a teacher. Those are all really good references, and we can kind of help narrow down things for you and create that references list, because it can be a little daunting to think of 5, and we understand that. All right, so now we're on the activity. So we're at 12:29. We'll say it's 12:30 to start the activity. So I want everyone to think about a job that they're trying to apply to. What's your field? What's your expertise? And write a professional summary that has the specific number of years that you have been working in that field. Even if it's 1, that's okay. And then write about the why. Why are you applying to that job? And you can do this on, again, pen, paper, a notes app, computer, typing, or even in the chat. Like if you just don't want to do it anywhere else, you just do it in the chat. So we're going to take 5 minutes. That actually might be too much time. Maybe we'll do 3. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes. Does anybody need more time or are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Does anybody want to share their professional summary or statement of purpose?
Can I share?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you from all of us. But just one thing is, I have a couple of workers in the support function, administration, finance, logistics, including security. But unfortunately, I tried many times, but I didn't get any job in the USA. But I get job. It is like in security section. It is outdoor job, not inside. But I don't much like it because it is. I have experience of the security. Other work before in security. It was so difficult, different from this job as we do in the Shoresville. But just I tried to find the job in my field work and also or half of the job is, but unfortunately I applied, didn't get any jobs in UVA also. Uh, Several times I applied, I think message, and also in security also applied. There is I don't know. There is also they appreciated and also missed their job. And another place also, but I didn't get whether I also applied there was others. There's some things was, but right now is I'm working my capacity here to improve and also get an English classes. I also study because there is something that I think was wrong with my English. Writing, my writing is good, but just my pronunciation. Otherwise, when you're facing with the need, real people or native speakers, maybe something is I miss it like this. But study on my capacity and adult English. There is also an 5 level, but right now is I hope to complete and get. And if you could help me in this regard to find any office job or be similar, I'm not expect to be a high position. If be like entry position or others, just be to start from anywhere to be in my field of work because I have educated person. I have more than 13 years of work experience. But there is something is
That's great. Gulijan, that's great. I know you have you're definitely on the right pathway. You're reaching out to us for help. And
yeah.
so, we'll definitely help you. We'll talk more together about what kinds of jobs we can look at. I know you have a lot of experience. So maybe it's just a matter of revisiting what you're applying to, what's working, what's not working, and then we can go from there. And definitely, I agree, looking at some entry-level positions is a really good idea, especially while you're taking some English classes. Something like that is a really good strategy, and we can definitely help you with that. So thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody else want to share their professional summary or statement of purpose? Or did we get any chats about that?
We did not. I have one that I'll share if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Just as an example. I'll just drop it in the chat box. So with this one, I didn't want to put how many years of experience I have exactly, just because I really
been a few, huh?
It's been a few, and I don't want to call out any numbers in particular. So just the fact that I have experience, and I really personally like to focus on kind of innovation and creativity. That I just want to make sure that people understand that I'm the type of individual who wants to come to the table with new ideas. So if you're interested in keeping things status quo, I'm probably not the best fit for you. And of course, also being very mission driven. So, you have a charge, you want it done, and we'll get it done. So, that's kind of what I focus on. And I would tailor this depending on exactly what position I was shooting for. So like if I was going into economic and workforce development, I would probably add those words in there. If I was going into like government, leadership, it would probably be something a little bit more along these lines. So, so I would just always recommend that people kind of tailor their statement specifically to the job that you're applying for. Just don't have one broad general that you put on every resume. And I would just say, just in general, everything in the resume, try to tailor that to the job that you're shooting for. Pull key words from the description to show that you actually have those particular skills, and just make it very customized for each job you apply for.
That's something that I think a lot of people struggle with because it takes a lot of time to tailor your resume to the job description, but luckily you have Pipelines and Pathways to help you do that. And so definitely lean on us if you're feeling overwhelmed about tailoring your professional summary to your job that you're applying to or your keywords. We'll go into that a little bit if we get to interview discussion. I do want to talk about like how to tailor your interview questions and answers to the job you're applying for. So we'll get into that as well if we have time. And then I'm going to actually read out Holly's professional summary because for people who are watching on YouTube, they can't see it. So we'll say, so Holly put, experienced public sector leader desiring to contribute to a collaborative, community-oriented environment that encourages the creation of strategic and innovative solutions in order to address organizational and societal goals and objectives. So, this is excellent. So thank you, Holly. And I see Celia's question here that I want to address. So how about including years of experience? I think that that's a great strategy, including how many years you're doing the work, job title. So yeah, if you had like if over time you have worked at the same kind of job, we'll use customer service representative. Like you are a customer service representative of X amount of years. And then achievements and skills, that's going to be in the section of skills and achievements. You can make that a section in your resume. So great job, everybody. Let's move on to the cover letter. The dreaded cover letter. They can be really hard to write. They take a lot of time. I hope that I can talk a little bit about ways you can maybe think about a cover letter and so it's not so daunting. Some strategies about that. But first, let's address the big question is why is it important? So the biggest reason you should write a cover letter is because everyone else is writing a cover letter. And let me go to the next slide, actually. So if you're applying to a position at UVA and it does say on there, all it requires is resume, but everybody else in the candidate pool is including a resume, cover letter, and maybe a references list. Yours in comparison, if you just upload your resume in comparison to other people's who's uploading a cover letter, and anything else yours isn't going to look as strong. Yours isn't going to be as strong as a candidate compared to other people. So if everyone else is doing it, yours is going to be moved at the bottom of the list because you're the only one who didn't upload a cover letter. Now, most people, here's why this is a good thing to talk about is because most people don't upload a cover letter if it doesn't require it. So if you do, then you're moved to the top. You're considered, oh, this person took time out of their day to write a cover letter. This makes them look like they really care about the position. It makes them look like they researched the position before they applied. So those are the reasons behind why a recruiter likes to see a cover letter. Now, does it mean that they're going to really analyze it? They're going to read it very thoroughly? No, but if you put in time and effort to even make one, it's going to leave a positive impression with the recruiter and with the hiring manager once it finally gets to the hiring manager. So it just increases your chances. So if you can do it, you should do it. And so another reason why you should write a cover letter is it gives you a chance to explain why you're the best candidate. And so that's the purpose. That's the original purpose of a cover letter, is to kind of introduce yourself and talk about main strengths that you can bring to the table. on why you are a great candidate, why you're going to be the successful hire for whatever position you're applying to. And another thing a cover letter can be used for that sometimes people don't think about is you can answer any questions that might be that you weren't able to answer in the resume. So a really common one is relocation, or maybe answering the reason why you don't have a position currently, which can be relocation. So if you are moving into a new state and you have like a resume gap, you have like a work history gap, you get the chance to talk about that in your cover letter and explain why you have a work history gap. Or maybe it's you were at home taking care of your kids and you had to take a break for a little bit and now you're ready to come back into the workforce. Well, you definitely can say that in a cover letter. That can be in your introduction paragraph. And so, you know, utilize the cover letter to your benefit. Don't just think about it's a chore that I have to do because everyone else is doing it. It's also an opportunity to really advocate for yourself and showcase to the recruiter that there are reasons why you had a gap, or there are reasons why you had to relocate, or whatever the reason is. And then really show that you are the best candidate. So we're going to talk about the structure of a cover letter next. Alrighty, so here's my general rule when it comes to structuring a cover letter. Everyone is a little different, so I'm not going to pretend that I have like the best strategy for this, but this is what I do when I write cover letters for myself or for clients. I always do an introductory paragraph, and that's going to address, you know, the number one question is, well, why am I the best? Why am I applying to this position? What is the reason for, like if I am leaving a current job, like if I'm currently employed, what is the reason for why I'm applying to a new position? And, you know, why am I the best candidate? So those are your goals, is addressing those questions. And in order to kind of break down the big question of why are you the best candidate, is to think about your three main strengths. What are just three things, okay? You don't want your cover letter to be paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of you talking about how you're just so amazing, which you are, but you know, a recruiter's not going to read all of that. So just try to reduce it to three main reasons on why specifically you are the best candidate. And like Holly recommended earlier, look at the job profile, look at the job application, pick out three things that you see that you match to the three things that they have on their job description that you already possess. And then the conclusion, which is, you know, in my opinion, the very easy conclusion is just saying, okay, again, I think I'm the best for these reasons, and I would love to discuss more about my skills in an interview, and I look forward to, you know, discussing more with you. So just kind of like putting it out there, like I'm hoping that I hear back from you. I'm hoping that, you know, we can discuss more. I'm hoping that I get a phone call, you know, or whatever. But just making it very professional, and again, a request, not a demand, but just a request and hoping that you hear back. It's very polite to do that. It's very professional to do that. So here's an example of a cover letter. I found this actually on Indeed, but I changed it a lot actually to make it more UVA focused and what I look for in a cover letter. So let me discuss really quick the formatting here. In the past, I've seen people send me cover letters that have a bunch of like graphics all over them, and it's like lots of color, and they don't have their name on it at all. They just have the hiring manager's name or whatever the case may be. And we just want to keep it simple. We want to keep it, again, easy to read for the recruiter. So standard formatting is your name at the top left hand, followed by your phone, followed by your email. And then you can even put like Charlottesville if you're in Charlottesville, or just whatever city that you're in. Then you want to put the date after that. And then optionally, you can put in the name of the institution that you're applying to, like University of Virginia. This Indeed thing didn't have that, and I didn't have time to upload it, but you typically want to say University of Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, like the address of the place you're applying to. Then after that, you can say, dear hiring manager, or to whom it may concern. And then after that, now you're going to be talking about your introductory paragraph. That's the first thing. So hello, I'm writing this letter to express my interest in the nursing assistant position available at UVA's Medical Center. Perfect. That's immediately saying why she's interested in this. Why is she writing this cover letter? And then here's why she's great. as an experienced nursing assistant of 2 years working independently in Virginia Beach. I heard about this position in Charlottesville and I'm relocating to Charlottesville, so this greatly interests me. So now she's answering the question, well, why are you applying to the role? Well, I'm relocating. I'm from Virginia Beach. And then she has a transition sentence about, she read the guidelines. She thinks that she matches. So now we're like, okay, well, why does she match? Why did the skills that she has match the role for UVA's medical center? She has very specific lists here of the three main points. The three main points are, number one, a positive attitude. So she talks about that. So she has a background in nursing education, her current role. She was a nursing assistant. She is known for her positive attitude. She is known for getting along with patients and with her coworkers. So that's a really valuable trait to have in any field. I don't care if it is just nursing. It's especially interesting or especially positive in nursing, but any customer service related or any people focused position, if you talk about having a positive attitude, that's going to be really, really great. The second thing she talks about is she has a specialization in that third paragraph about being able to be specialized in infection control and sanitization. So that's where she says, right here, I specialized in infection control for high-risk patients, and I also helped administer medications, maintain rooms, and organize aseptic procedures. So she's talking about specific things that she did that she was in charge of. And so that is where she's taking her skill set that's maybe different from everyone else's. It's something that's unique to her that makes her stand out as a candidate. And then lastly, the last paragraph where it's her conclusion, but she includes in one more skill, is that she is familiar with technology associated with hospital settings. And so I think that's important because hospital technology is a little different than just everyday technology in the sense that you have to be very privacy focused with the technology that you used. Everything is like patient confidentiality and HIPAA related. And so this person who has experience working in hospital settings, she's saying, well, I'm already familiar with all of that. I can transition easily into whatever software that your institution uses because I'm already familiar with it. So those are three things that she talks about in her cover letter. And then her final sentence is, with my background, I believe I can be an excellent nurse for UVA Health. Thank you for taking the time to review my materials. And I look forward to hearing from you about this wonderful opportunity. So she's being very sincere. She's thanking whoever's reading it for even bothering to read it. And she is saying, I look forward to hearing from you. So she's putting it out there. She's putting the request out there to be reached out to. And so that's the basic structure. So now we're going to do an activity again. And I don't want you to write a whole cover letter. That's going to take, too much time. I just want you to think of 3 bullet points that are your main strengths. So if you're pretending to write a cover letter for real, before you even get down on your Word document and typing that out or your pen and paper, just 3 bullet points of your top strengths, what makes you the best candidate. So we'll say it's 12:50. So we'll take another 3 minutes or so. So we'll do 12:54. Okay, so we've done about 4 minutes. Does anybody want to share their 3 main points for their cover letter?
It looks like Celia added some examples to the chat box.
All right, Celia. Team player, excellent, dedicated, and honest. Very good. You want to talk more about that, Celia? Those are great.
Sure. I believe doesn't matter what kind of job you do. I think it's very important when you have a team player, where everybody work together. For me, it's like a chain. So if you have somebody who doesn't work with you in a positive way or in a helpful way, or so that affect your ability to deliver a quality job. And
Right.
I'm saying that because I have experienced before where I don't have the whole team working together, as using myself as example, like being new on the job. I think it's very important for the team embrace you and work with you, and allowed you to give the best of you can for the job. So yes, for me, a team player is something very important for you to deliver a very quality job on your work setting.
I
And
love that.
dedicating to your job. Thank you. And you've been dedicating to your job, you assume the responsibility to do something in the company to deliver your best. So be dedicating to what you do. It's something very important too. And be honest, it's something, another thing, it's very important. And no matter, what you do, where you go, be honest. It's, it's, for me, it's something have to happen. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that you said for your team player skill that you said, well, when I was on a team in my old jobs, I have experience with that. And so that's something that you'd want to expand on in your cover letter, is be like, I am a team player because I worked on a team with all these people and we got along really well. I learned how to talk to them. I learned how to communicate well. I learned how to be clear and polite and get along with people. So that's really good. And then with the dedication, you can be specific for those examples by saying, well, I stayed at this position for, like 5 years or something like that. And I was promoted, or I started as an entry level, but then I was given trainer responsibilities, so that I'm very dedicated to, the mission, and I'm very dedicated to the role. And so those like core skills that you have, you can very easily exemplify those into very specific situations because you worked them. So that's excellent. Excellent.
you.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, if no one else, we can go ahead and move on. So now we're talking about, so now we've got your cover letter, we've got your resume, they're ready, they're tailored, they've got the specifics, you've got your 3 strengths in your cover letter, you are ready to apply. So obviously, if you don't know where to go, jobs.virginia.edu is the actual website where you'll go to apply. And there's actually, and I'm going to demonstrate all of this for you. There's the main search bar where you can type in a specific role, or you can browse by category. Like as you scroll, there's going to be categories of like administrative or medical or trades. So you can like just pick that category and see what is there that's relevant to your skills. So like for Gulajan, that would be like security. Like I'm looking for security positions. So you can like select that category. But one really cool thing that UVA has done recently is they've created an AI recommendations tool. So you can upload your resume and then it will filter your resume and show that based upon the keywords that you have, it can recommend positions. So I do have like a video demo, and give me a minute to pull it up because it takes it a second. And I'm going to talk through it because that way I can guide you through what's going on here. All right. So let me expand this. Okay. All right. Oh, it's already playing. I had to go into incognito mode because I didn't want it to use my resume and my information. All right, everyone can see this? Thumbs up. Yes, good, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is your browser and okay, it wasn't playing. There we go. So you're gonna go to jobs.virginia.edu and it's gonna show you in just a second. There we go. This is what it looks like. And there is a little chat bot at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. He says, "Hi, are you looking for, a job?" And so that's where you're going to actually type it in. Sorry, it looks like I had to do this twice. Jobs.virginia.edu. Yeah, this is what it looks like. It says careers at UVA. So again, the chat bot at the bottom is going to ask you some questions, and then you can just upload your resume to that. Here's the categories. It's Pipelines and Pathways is on there too. So if you don't know even where to start, you can just reach out to us. Okay, there we go. All right, there's the questionnaire right there. So you want to click find a job. And then it asks you 2 questions, either upload the resume or answer questions directly. I always choose upload a resume. If you don't have a resume, you could just do the answer questions portion, but you should always have a resume before you apply to anything. So it's going to give you the drop down menu. I think I pick Sarah's resume, the one that we used as the example earlier. And it can upload Word and PDF. All right, so these are the positions that the bot has recommended for Sarah. So remember, Sarah is the one who has customer service experience. She has Microsoft Office experience. She's worked in, she's worked at the city. She's worked at, restaurants. And so the first thing it gives her is actually a part-time parking ambassador position. She meets the qualifications. She's got the high school diploma. It's got the verbal and written communication skills requirement, time management, at least a year of experience. She's a 5-year experience, so she might be a little over experienced for this position. It's also part-time. Maybe that's not what Sarah wants. They also recommended the temps pool for specialized professions. So that can include human resources, graphic designer, grants, someone who has like a very specific degree in something, or she took a couple of courses at PVCC, so she might have a specific field that she's interested in. But then again, this one might not be the best. If Sarah is looking for full-time employment, she might want to do something different because temps is a temporary position. So this one seems like the best. So if her goal is full-time, she has an option for senior facilities services representative. It was also posted 3 weeks ago, which means it was very recently posted. It requires high school diploma, or, you know, a bachelor's degree can substitute for experience. So she has 5 years, but it's only 1 year difference. I would say go for it. And she also has experience in customer service, office work. She's obviously used Microsoft Word for Excel. She can do these things. There's nothing on here that she has no experience in. And it pays pretty well, 41 to 49. So it gives you, the nice thing about this is that it gives you all the information you need right away, right there for you to apply. And so if she's interested, she can apply to it, or she can look and see more. So the more temps options, temps is a great way to get your foot in the door. If you don't want, if you're not able to get something right away, temps can give you a temp position. It can sometimes turn into a full-time position if they like you. So I've had Sarah select that she's interested in the senior facilities management position. And now they're going to ask like questions about the background. So this is like that questionnaire that you would go through. You know, if you went to the website directly and went through the traditional application stage, it would give you the same exact questions, but the chat bot is able to just ask you those through that way, and then you apply that way. And so that is what it looks like. So does anybody have questions about that? That was kind of a lot of information, and I'm going to reshare a presentation.
I was just going to say with that chat bot, the artificial intelligence used. So when you go on the jobs page, there are like almost 2,000 jobs that are listed. And if you try to do like keyword search and scroll through all of those,
yeah,
it's very time consuming. So this gives it a way, gives you a way to kind of curate a list that's more specific to your experience and skills. And again, if you don't have a resume to upload, we're more than happy to help you with that. Just making sure that we put the right keywords in there so that bot does pick them up. And so that's all, that's a big part of this, making sure you have the right words in your cover letter, in your resume, so that they stand out when doing the artificial intelligence matching.
That's right.
Question.
Go ahead.
Does it matter what the document type is when for the AI, you know, when it's generating jobs that kind of align with your resume?
Like, are you asking like if it will decline
If it's a
certain
PDF,
format?
will it be able to read it? Does it have to be a Word document?
It can be either.
Gotcha.
It can read either one. I don't think it can do anything like smaller, you know, like for image files, but PDF and Word doc is fine if you have those. Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, Celia, I agree. It is tough to fill out the resume with keywords. Really, it is just a matter of looking at your job description and matching what you have and trying as closely, you know, even matching it completely copy, that can work too. You just don't want it to be a copy paste situation, because then it looks like you know, literally copied and pasted, but you want some very similar words. I mean, if you noticed on the chatbot, it actually, she had on there excellent verbal and written communication, and it had that on the job description for the AI matching. So it literally took what that was in her resume and then pulled up the senior facilities office manager position for Sarah. So that's something that's really common, a really common phrase that you can use. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to recap, when I look for the job, when I look for, let me think how I'm going to ask this question. The word I cannot remember now, but when I read about the job description, let's say that way, you know, they have, you know, all the skills they asking for. So I'm going on that part of the job, and then I can use the keywords from that part. That's the way I should work. Kind of, let's say copy, but in a different words.
Yeah,
keywords.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You are using the same words that are in the job description, so you're copying them in a way.
Mhm.
But you can rephrase them, or you can like when we say keywords, we're talking about words that are kind of general, like general phrases that are used in a lot of job applications.
Mhm.
So customer service is a really it doesn't matter that you're copying it, because that is a phrase that is used in so many different jobs that and if that's one of your top skills, then it's totally okay to put that. The specific software that was used in Sarah's resume was Microsoft Office. Lots of jobs use Microsoft Office, so it's totally okay to actually have that in there. Saying, time management skills, that's a really common phrase that is used in so many job applications. So
Mhm.
when you're looking at the job description for a specific UVA position, you're going to see some general phrases, and those general phrases are what you're going to want to put into your resume if they match, if that's also what skill you have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, we're going to be sharing our contact information at the end of this presentation, our email, our socials. So you can reach out to us again if you have more questions, or you need a meeting with one of us about doing this kind of these kinds of steps, and we can help
Okay.
you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so now you've put in your resume, you've applied, you've answered all the questions, and so now it goes out into a mysterious void. You're like, what happened to my resume? What happened to my cover letter, my application? What's going on from there? So UVA uses a customer relationship management software called Workday, and that is how recruiters and hiring managers move candidates along in the process. And so Pipelines and Pathways has recruiter access. So when you're partnered with us, we actually can see where your application is in the stages, from the initial screening, when it gets to that initial recruiter looking at it, all the way through to interview stage, reference stage, background, and beyond when you go into the pre-hire stage. And so that first initial stage, though, is the recruiter screening stage. That's when it gets to the recruiter. And so you will receive an email confirmation that you did apply. If you don't get an email confirmation from UVA that confirms you submitted your application, maybe check with us and see if it actually did get submitted, because some people think that they've submitted an application and it turns out that there's nothing there. And it could be that you missed a question, or your internet was fuzzy while you clicked apply and it just nothing submitted. There could be a million reasons why something didn't get submitted completely. But so if you didn't get that confirmation email, please check with Pipelines and Pathways. We will see where your application is actually located, if it did get submitted.
And
So
I will just add, Melissa, real quickly, I've seen a lot of instances where people get the confirmation that it was submitted because it was, but they may have answered one of the screening questions incorrectly,
Yes.
so it automatically gets rejected. So even though you think it's sitting in the pool, it's already been moved to rejected. So we can help you get that reactivated and answered correctly. So just if you want to be a participant with us, please always let us know what you apply for, so we can always go in on the back end and make sure that that application is in the pool to be reviewed.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of really tricky questions in there, like about, there's just several different questions on there that might be tricky if you're not used to applying to things. So if you answered incorrectly, you can be automatically rejected. Another thing that I think was mentioned in the chat is if you don't upload your resume correctly, if you think that you uploaded it, but you didn't, and it required a resume or a cover letter, and you didn't upload those things, again, that's going to be an automatic rejection. And it's supposed to email you that you got automatically rejected, or something, like a recruiter's supposed to let you know. But if that email goes into spam, or for whatever reason you didn't get that email, you should just check with us anyway to make sure that it actually got in there, and that it is uploaded correctly and it's not messed up. All right, so let's say everything worked out well, everything's in there, you applied correctly, you answered the questions right, then you're in a candidate pool. So the way the recruiters function, like their position is to manage different requisitions. Now, requisitions are the same thing as saying applications. Like to a candidate, it's an application, but to a recruiter, it's a requisition. And so they're in charge of, like, UVA is a big institution. So one recruiter is probably in charge of, like, I don't know, 50 different requisitions across, maybe facilities or across the medical center or across administrative, academic pools. But they're in charge of several. And then each requisition is going to have a lot of applications in that. And so that's why it's important to make sure that you're hitting all those boxes, making sure your resume is really good, because it's a lot of applications in there that they have to be looking at. The good thing is, since you've now learned about all these strategies we've talked about today, you've been given an edge. You've been given the information you need to make your resume on the top of the stack. And you have a resource like Pipelines and Pathways to help make sure that your resume is, there, that it looks good, and we can get in contact with that recruiter. So don't feel daunted. There is a lot out there. There are a lot of applicants that are applying. They're doing a lot of applying on UVA, but they're not doing the same things that you're probably doing. Like, most people don't submit cover letters. Most people don't tailor their resume. Most people don't even take the time to make sure that the job that they're applying to matches their qualifications. So as you just do those little things, your resume is going to look amazing. It's going to be at the top of the stack. And so after you get looked at by the recruiter likes your resume, they think that your cover letter is strong, they're going to either email you or call you or both. They're going to contact you in one way or another. So make sure, just as a rule of thumb, make sure that you are checking your email, multiple times a day, just in case. After you apply to something, you should always make sure you're looking at it. If you don't use your email very often, get into the habit of checking your email. You're applying to a job, so you should just be getting into that habit of checking it. And same with the phone. So I know a lot of us nowadays, our phones are, set to like do automatic spam filtering. So it like puts people's calls into voicemail automatically. Well, if you're applying to a position, you need to get rid of that setting so you can let calls go through, because it could be a recruiter trying to reach you. So that's just like a different way of, expectations, a different way of thinking about communication, because you need to be available and accessible to a recruiter. So get rid of those barriers, get into the habit of checking your phone, checking your email. And so after the recruiter has contacted you, maybe they have a screening, they want to ask you a few questions, or they just want to call you simply to set up an interview with the hiring manager or whatever. Each department has a different kind of process on how they like to do things. But initially, you're going to be contacted with the recruiter. They might have a little bit of a screening interview with you. And if you pass that, then you'll be sent over to the hiring manager. And that's where you're put on like a short list. So you got passed, and you're into more formal interviewing stages with the hiring manager. And that's going to be like a smaller list of candidates. That's why I say short list, because it's going to be like 20 candidates that the interviewer, the hiring manager is looking at. And this is the person who is making the decision. So they're the ones who, if you get to them, that's, you're doing really good because you passed that initial screening. So now they have, the hiring manager has your cover letter, the hiring manager has your resume. They've been given information from the recruiter. The recruiter took notes about your conversation over the phone or via Microsoft Office, or Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And so they're given all that information, and they're going to schedule like a more formal interview with you. And we're going to talk about interview strategies in a little bit. I think we still have some time. And I just want to take a little bit of just to talk about preparing for an interview as well. Like a lot of the ways managers will like to do an interview is virtually now. Not all of them, like facilities management tends to prefer in person. But medical center positions tend to be through Zoom or Teams first, and then they might do an in-person one after. And so if you are not familiar with those platforms, if you don't have those downloaded on your phone, or if you don't have those on your computer, get with Pipelines and Pathways. We can help you identify a place to set up, like where, if you don't have access to a laptop, we can help you pick places that have access to computers, webcams, get you in the right location. And then if you just need help with like downloading it on your phone, like you're like, I can use my phone, but I just don't know how to. we can help you through all of that. We can help you download Microsoft Teams. We can help you download Zoom, get you updated on the software updates. Because I've heard multiple times from clients is that they're trying to join an interview, but they couldn't because their phone wasn't updated and it didn't allow them to join the meeting because it wasn't like compatible. And so the little things like that, you know, they don't seem very important in like your day-to-day life, but when it comes to an interview, it's bad because you weren't able to attend. So if something like that does happen, you of course want to email the hiring manager about what happened, but try to be preemptive, like try to prevent that from happening. The other thing that you can do is if you've applied and you haven't heard anything from a recruiter, like you were expecting, you know, a phone call or something in a couple of weeks or whatever, and you're just not, it's radio silence, you're not getting any response, you're checking your email, you're checking your phone, contact P&P. We can go into your candidate profile, see what's going on with the application, see where it is in the status. Maybe it had a lot of things change and move around at UVA sometimes. One of the reasons I've seen is that they've changed department, like the people in the department is like being moved around. So like one hiring manager who was responsible for doing all the interviewing suddenly gets moved and transferred into a completely different department. And so then the recruiters have to kind of scramble to figure out, well, who else can we have do all of these interviews? It needs to be someone else. And so it can just push, you know, applications back, you know, and so, and it's never personal, like some things just happen and it's got no one's fault. It's just the way things are sometimes. And so there's usually a reason on why you're not being, you know, moved forward, and we can help you do that investigation. And if we can't find it ourselves, we will ask recruiters and ask hiring managers, is there something going on, you know, like what's happening? And then we can provide that insight for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about interview. Do we have questions about the hiring process real quick before I go into interviewing? About Workday and recruiters?
I would just add, especially on the academic division side, if you're applying for positions, don't get discouraged if it takes some time to get through that entire process. We have found that on that side, it tends to move a little bit slower. And that's just the fact that, everyone has so much on their plate to deal with, and it can get delayed. And sometimes, again, like Melissa said, we can go back to the recruiter and ask, do you have a timeline for this hire? And they might say, well, they're looking to fill it within the next month. And so at least you would know that it might take a little bit longer. On the medical center side, we have seen things move quite a bit faster, especially in some of the entry-level positions. So like if you're interested in like an Earn While You Learn program, a WHO's training program like we provide, you'll see that process go quite a bit quicker just because we are paying very close attention to that and moving people along quickly. And so again, don't get discouraged, reach out to us if things are taking a while, and we'll check into it and explore other opportunities as well.
Yeah, and that's something that we just have to do together, is that, okay, this is not going anywhere. We've been waiting for a while for this position. Things are just not moving along. And so let's just apply to something else. And that's just something that you have to do sometimes when you're applying to anything. That's not even just a UVA, strategy. That is just jobs in general. Try other things if one thing isn't working. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Alrighty, so interviewing best practices. So we talked a little bit about how you should tailor your resume, tailor your cover letter to the job description using those keywords. Well, it's going to be similar. You've already done that with your resume and cover letter if you've gotten to the interview stage, but it's the same idea. I really recommend revisiting the job description. Maybe it's been like a month since you applied and you've kind of forgotten, like, okay, it took a long time for them to schedule something with me. And so now I need to refresh myself. What did I apply to? What did I say, in my cover letter about why I was the best candidate? So thinking about those 3 strengths that you mentioned in your cover letter, but then when I do this, I literally print out the job description, I take a highlighter and I highlight things that I read in the job description that I know I've done. And then I try to think about specific examples of you know, when they say that they want a customer service representative, okay, well, I worked at the city for, you know, 3 years and I did phone call, email, you know, like exactly the tasks that I did that were customer service related. And after you do that, you have like a really good idea in your head of like, well, these are these skills that I can bring to the table if I get hired. And so then from there, you can actually start creating practice questions because you already have all the information in front of you. And so having those practice questions available, that's just going to get you ready to answer those questions in the real interview. We do provide mock interviewing services at Pipelines and Pathways. I also just recommend getting with people that you trust. If it's a job coach like us, or if it is a mentor of yours, a teacher, a coach, a friend, a family member, once you have those practice questions ready, practice as much as possible to just kind of control those nerves, because the more prepared you are for the interview, the less, you know, hopefully the less, you know, nervous you'll be. You're probably always going to be a little nervous, but if you've practiced so much, then you're like, well, I know the answer to these things. So when they ask me, I'm going to be ready to go for it. So I did put together, this is a sample from the real greeter welcome team position for UVA's health front entrance positions. So this is it's a very short job description, so it doesn't have a lot to go on. You might come across something that has like, you know, 10 bullet points of job descriptions. You can pull a lot more questions out of that, but this is very, very like basic, you know. First bullet point, greets patients and guests, provides information while maintaining patient confidentiality, transporting patients safely, ensuring the equipment is clean and in good repair, managing the work area. So that's like your front entrance, you're managing that front entrance area. You're a part of the patient experience office. So there's probably more services that you'll be responsible for the patient experience office. Like it's going to be obviously a part of a larger team as well. It's not just you by yourself. You're going to be working with a lot of other people. And then they have the generic, in addition to the above, other things may be assigned to you. So you need to be flexible. You need to be adaptable to other things that might come about that you don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but here's some example questions that I created for the job description. So why are you interested in becoming a greeter? Tell us about your previous customer service experience. This is clearly a customer service position because you're at the front entrance of the hospital. You're doing patient experience. So you need to have good customer service. An example scenario question, what would you do if you're interacting with an upset patient? They mentioned confidentiality. So what does that mean to you? Is it important to you? And then something a little bit more specific about your customer service skills is what is a good compliment that a customer has given you in the past and why? And so these are just some very generic ones that you can come up with just looking at a job description. And another one I didn't put on here, but I always recommend for clients to think about is tell me about yourself. You should always have that question number one and have an answer prepared for that, because that's your introduction about you as a person. They might not come out with the first question. They might not ask you that question, but they're going to be looking for that answer anyways. So you should always have that prepared in the back of your head. It's going to make you go long. It's going to take you far if you have a really good answer for tell me about yourself. Questions about interviewing? Yes, Elijah.
So with the question, tell me about yourself. It's really important to answer this correctly. Most people do not answer it correctly. They think that tell me about yourself means tell me about where you grew up, you know, how many siblings you have, or, you know, what are some of your hobbies? That's not what they're asking. They're asking you, what relevant experience do you have to this job you applied to? And maybe a little bit about your professional journey, and anything within that journey that is relevant to that job you applied to is really what they're asking. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, going into personal, you know, details about yourself is, you know, not always necessary in that question. A lot of people want to talk about like, oh, well, I do these things on the weekends and things like that. You're really wanting to focus on the job. All the questions are about the job. And you can go into backgrounds about yourself. But if you do, it's going to be work related. It's going to be your office experience or, your trades experience. It's going to be about your education experience, or if you took extracurricular activities or anything like that. If you're, if you don't have higher education, it's anything that's related to the position. I always do like to say where I'm from though in an interview, because they might want to know if you're local. So if you are from Charlottesville, I do encourage candidates to say like, oh, I'm a Charlottesville native, or I'm from this part of Virginia and I'm relocating over here, whatever the situation is, kind of like the cover letter, like the introductory cover letter. Just again, reaffirm this is why you are doing this. This is who you are. So they really remember who you are. And it's good to do little like things like that, like local Charlottesville native, because then if they have 10 candidates they're interviewing, they're going to remember, oh, that person was Charlottesville native who's been here for like 20 years. And they're going to remember that like key detail about you as a person.
Yeah, as when I answer this question, tell me about myself. I like to do a little introduction, a little out of the job description I'm looking for, because I am from Brazil. And I live here in Charlottesville for 4 years only. And I have a gap in my professional area because I have to step out of the job because I moved from Brazil to here. So I always have a little introduction to explain my gap, to explain, why I have this accent, to explain why I'm here for a short period of time. So I understand that I go a little out of what the question's asking for, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if I start to answer this question with this little introduction about myself, would be helpful for the higher manager to understand, certain things where I can show in my cover letter or in my resume, things like that.
Absolutely. You are correct. Yeah, we agree. That's relevant. Like all of the things that you said were relevant. It shows why you applied to the position. It shows that you've been here for, 4 years. That answers those questions for the interviewer. And if they want to ask more, then you've given them that opening to ask more about you.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we didn't talk about that you can prepare for an interview? Opening up the floor to anybody.
For me, I always, whenever I'm getting ready for an interview, what I do is I'll definitely go over the job description. Make sure I look it up, and go over what it is that I am interviewing for, and always look up the company and get some information about the business or organization that I'm working for, even the hiring manager, if I can look that person up as well. I always try to do my research so that way when I'm there, they ask me the question. They always say, do you have any questions? So I can ask them questions about, their organization and stuff like that. So you always want to have some questions to ask them because they open up the floor for you. So always have that ready and write them out and be prepared for that too. So do your research and ask questions.
I totally agree.
Yes. Can I have something?
You have some more ways to prepare for the interview? Go ahead.
Okay. Sometimes in interview, as I noted, some employer in interview asking about the weakness and weakness points. Also, including a strong point or weakness point. When you explain, they says, please say about the weakness point. As we see, we didn't see it. The person don't know about that. But that is something is more time we face it. Says how should respond employer sometimes, no? If there not be anything is if you be interested for the job, maybe you want to do, they create a good job, everything is, but they emphasize sometimes to say hard something is about your weakness point.
Yeah, picking out something about yourself that makes you, unique, a unique candidate, shows that you're the best candidate. Yeah, those are really good. Having a list of questions already answered and memorizing those, that's another thing that you can do. Great answers, everybody. So like Ray Sean had said, you need to prepare questions for the interviewer, because if you come to an interview and they ask you if you have questions for them, it's a two-way street. You need to have something prepared, because it shows that not only you care, it shows that you've done your research, but it also shows that, you've thought about it. You've thought about yourself in that position. You've mentally pictured yourself there. And because of that, you have questions. And so it can be something, as simple as, what are the hours? What's the shift like? Who are my teammates? Who would be my teammates if I'm selected? What's the culture of the work, the place of work? Who would be my direct supervisor? It can be, what kind of technology is used, what was it is expected of me as soon as I start on day one? Like, what is expected from me after a week or after a few months? Like, what is the game plan for professional improvement? Like, maybe your whole thing is, I really want to improve my career, and education. So all of those things you should have prepared. I would keep it to like between 3 and 5, depending on how long the interview is for. The recruiter, or the hiring manager, I should say, should have built-in time to ask questions. So if they don't have time built in for 5 minutes, they'll make time for you. And that's just something that you should expect. So even if you go a little over, it's okay. But if you don't have anything, that just shows that you're just not, as prepared as you could be. It's not gonna immediately, disqualify you, but it's better to have something than not anything. What other questions that you guys can think of?
Can I add one thing, Melissa?
Yeah.
So another thing too, to help prepare for an interview is, like Rayshawn said, you practice. With that, when I interviewed for this job, I used this link I just put in the chat. It's got top 10 questions that interviewers ask, and you should write down your answers and then rehearse it as if you're performing in a play or something like that over and over again. I mean, really get it to where you don't even have to look at it. You just memorize it. They may not ask the questions exactly, but the answers you have prepared and memorized, you'll be able to answer those questions a lot easier, a lot smoother. Because another big part is being efficient with your answers and not over explaining things, not saying, because a lot of times it may get awkward in an interview where you're not maybe receiving the head nod that is acknowledged, like they acknowledge your answer, or that awkward silence. That doesn't necessarily mean your answer was wrong. A lot of times people feel that way. But just keeping it direct to the point and not over explaining things, because I tend to do that. So I really have to short myself, and I think I'm doing that right now. But anyway.
I'm the same way. I have to rehearse my questions a million times, because if I don't, I will be speaking about something for way too long. So you could even do, like, some people feel like it's considered wrong to bring your resume with you to the interview. Definitely do that. Bring your resume with you, bring your cover letter with you. It gives you a cheat sheet, without being really a cheat sheet, about your experience and how you can tailor your answers. And then bring the job description with you, bring your notes. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If an interview, they're going to have notes, you should have notes. And if you don't remember something right away, writing it down really quick, because they've asked you a lot of questions and you're trying to remember the answers, or you're trying to remember the questions that you're asking them, and you're just in the conversation, you can't remember, you can have that in front of you. There's nothing wrong with that. I do think that preparing is the best way to practicing, I should say, practicing with a person, a family member or mentor or job coach like PNP, is the best way. As many times as you practice, that is the guaranteed way you're going to get good feedback and that you're going to feel more confident when you go in.
And you
And we
do
can
have
do practice questions with you too.
And you do have to practice out loud. And whether you're doing it by yourself, and I know a lot of people to look at me and feel like silly about it, but they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, I'm too shy. The only way it's going to become natural for you to answer these questions is to speak them out loud. And I can tell you, my dogs have listened to many rehearsals, and there have been times when they have not hired me. But you know, practice in front of someone or something, a mirror. You need to be watching yourself, your hand movements. Are you doing all this kind of stuff? Are you making odd facial expressions? And you can record yourself as well. And I do highly recommend that. And that you don't need to share that with the world, but watch it for yourself, because sometimes we are just not aware of the things that we are doing because it's when we're nervous, when we're unsure, we do things that may look peculiar in an interview. So I would just say be aware of that. And if we provide you feedback that you're doing something like that, it's not to embarrass you. It's not to be hurtful. It is to make you better. And so we just want you to be your best. So, again, just practice, practice, practice.
That's right. And knowing too that we've all had to start somewhere. I didn't, immediately become good at interviewing right out the womb. Like we had to all practice right away. And it really is, that's the only way you can get better, is just being humble and being like, I'm not going to be not nervous. I'm going to be nervous, and that's okay. That's normal. And so what can I do to feel more confident? After the interview, there's some best practices for that as well. Highly encouraging sending a thank you email to the hiring manager, or even if you have multiple people's names to send the email to, you can add them all together in one message. If you don't have their email, you can send them a phone call and leave them a voicemail. Or if you get them, you can just say, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time and interviewing me and asking those questions. I really appreciate it. And then again, we kind of talked about this earlier, but after the interview, you should be expecting a response, hopefully within a couple of weeks, maybe a little longer on the academic side, but shorter on the medical center side. You should be getting an email from the recruiter. It won't be from the hiring manager directly. Most cases, the recruiter is then told what to do by the hiring manager, either to decline your application or to approve your application and go into offer stage or reference stage, whatever the department needs to do. If you do not get any response, there's probably a reason. So ask P&P to follow up about your application. We can do some digging, see where you're at. It could be as simple as they just haven't made the selection yet. You've been interviewed, but they're still interviewing. Maybe it's taking some time and they just haven't, finalized a candidate yet. And if we find, other information, we will pass that along to you and give you any support that you need. All right, so we are at the end. We went a little over, and I apologize for that. We just had such great topics and discussions from everyone today. So this is the final slide, just for your opportunity to open the floor completely about any questions regarding UVA. It doesn't even have to be about applications. It can be about anything that you've been wondering about anything that we can help you with.
Hi, Miss Melissa.
Hi, Khadijah. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I got your email.
Oh, good. So
Good.
yeah, my question is, so actually right now I'm a little confused between I have two options and I don't know which one is I should to choose. The thing is I love, or the thing is I think is best for me. So
Yes.
if you can helping me for that.
Yes, I will definitely help you with that. I know you're looking at a couple of options. So
Yeah.
I'll get with you on that, okay? We'll schedule some time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa. I have applied for a few positions, and I have no answer yet about, kind of, I guess it was two positions I have no answer. I applied about 2 weeks ago. And I already talking about all, all the reasons that can be behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I have applied for another position, which they called me to do the interview, which was 2 days ago. And then yesterday I went meet the person who was responsible to talk with me. So now I'm waiting for a reply. And she told me sometimes take, from 3 days or a little more than that. So what's your advice for me to do in this case? I should wait until they reply, or meanwhile I can continue looking for another position.
How recently, what was the timeline from your interview and your contact with the recruiter? What did you say? It was just a few days?
Yeah, my interview was 2 days ago,
Okay.
and yesterday I went to meet the person who was responsible to talk with me. And now I'm waiting for some answers, which I believe is gonna happen the next week, something.
Yeah.
So
I think that you should wait and see what they say, because it sounds like they're moving along and they're going to give you an answer, and they've told you they're going to give you an answer. It's just going to take a little bit of time because they're probably interviewing other candidates, and so when they're done, they will have a finalist, and they will let you know if you're the finalist or if you're not the finalist. You're absolutely encouraged to apply to other things if you feel that your skills match to those other things. A recruiter isn't going to feel some type of way if you're applying to other roles. You're looking for a position, so it totally makes sense and is expected for you to apply to positions that are in your field. So if you're not if you're worried about missing an opportunity because you waited too long to apply, go ahead and apply to it. And maybe you'll get an interview for that too, and then maybe you'll have 2 offers and you get to pick which offers best for you. That would be the best case scenario. So that's what I encourage. Yeah, just wait for them to come back to you, but in the meantime, feel free to apply to things.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, if anybody else doesn't have any other questions, I do have the contact information up here for Pipelines and Pathways. We check our email, we have our phone number, we have our main website. If you just go to Google and type in Pipelines and Pathways, our page pops up first. We also have Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. Oh, which I did the wrong icons. I just realized that right now. Oh, well, you guys know what I mean. So that is all of the information there. You can reach out to us anytime about anything and we will help you. I appreciate everyone so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was very educative. I'm very happy to be able to, participate on this meeting, and I'm glad I learned a lot.
Good.
And definitely you guys are gonna hear from me. And
Great.
I hope to meet you guys in person.
I would say,
Yes.
speaking of that, next week we're having an open house. It's August 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can come and meet us in person, and you can talk to, we're going to have hiring managers there to talk to you about open positions at the University of Virginia. So it's going to be at the HR office building, which is located at 2420 Old Ivy Road. And we would definitely love to see y'all. Just come out and say hi. We're going to have refreshments, door prizes. It's just a chance for us to get to meet some of our participants in person that we haven't all met. So we'll send you an email about that so you have all the information. Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I think I will go ahead and end the recording.
Thanks, Melissa.
you.
That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, all.